how quick the story changes. If you somehow missed all of Perth and are tuning into the Border Gavaskar Trophy, the narratives and the storylines are quite similar, just that the roles have been reversed. India, thanks to a thumping win, seem to have everything going their way. They also have reinforcements. Australia, if you go by their media, seem to be at their lowest ebb ever. What can we expect now as the caravan moves from Perth to the Pink Ball Challenge in Adelaide? Let's build up to the second test of the Border Gavaskar Trophy on ESPN Cricinfo Match Day with Sanjay Manjrekar. Sanjay, good to see you again. We have to
Thank-
start with the big news coming from the Indian camp. So much speculation in the week between the test, Rohit returning, Gill returning, who will bat where. The captain, not usual that Indian captains come and reveal a tactical change before a test, but Rohit Sharma has made it very clear. KL Rahul will open, and Rohit, in his own words, will bat somewhere in the middle. Your thoughts on it?
Well, first, I think we need to pat our own backs because I think we were the first platform that suggested who knows. And we said at the time it seems a little out of the box. But as time went on, you could see that it made a lot of sense. And we actually laid down the reasons for it. And that's the thing to like about Rohit Sharma. He's a guy who has won people's hearts by just being a good leader who puts team first in the way back in the 2023 World Cup as well. So this was, we suggested it and we all thought it is possible that this will happen. More so because Rohit Sharma was the captain who'll always put team first and him later. So it makes a lot of cricketing sense and again shows how Rohit Sharma is a little different from some of the other captains that we've seen.
All right, now that we know it is confirmed, talk us through the pros and cons of this batting lineup that India will enter the pink ball test with. Rahul and Jaiswal at the top, Gill you'd imagine at 3, Kohli 4, Pant and Rohit 5 and 6.
Now, I can see only pros. Um, Gill, he said something in the middle, right? Rohit Sharma, he didn't say I'll bat at number 3 because if he bat number 3, it won't be such a bad call as well. Rohit Sharma has played the new ball a little more than Shubman Gill has done. And we know Shubman Gill with the moving ball, especially the pink ball, which will move around. I think Gill is great when it comes to pace and bound. But the start of the innings, the ball is swinging too much, can, make his life a little difficult. And considering that this is the first test he's playing in the series, Rohit Sharma again can selflessly, volunteer to bat at number 3, but it's not a big deal. This call was very important with the kind of confidence the two openers had, although this is going to be a different challenge. Now the challenge for um, KL Rahul is to carry his form. He gave us a lot of promise and both Yashsvi and KL Rahul are looking good. Now it's almost imperative that KL Rahul carries his form after the last test.
The element of the unknown with the pink ball is something that Rahul himself brought up. He spoke to the media 2 days before the test and he spoke of how, uh, you know, it is going to be a unique challenge. In fact, if you look through the Indian batting lineup, Virat Kohli is the only one who featured in that last day-night test at Adelaide, which we're not supposed to talk a lot about in India, given the scorecard. But given all of that, Virat Kohli only assumes far greater significance, and it bodes well for India that he's going to a ground that he loves, but more importantly, on the back of finding his touch at Perth.
Yes, so the monkey is off his back. So this pressure that he had of, getting a big one, which must have weighed heavily on his shoulders, is gone. So mentally, he'll be really good. Now, what's going to happen is his technique, again, will be put to the test because we are talking about swing here. And when he batted in the second inning, he came in to bat in very favorable conditions. So mentally, pressure is gone. The technical challenge will be there. The ball will be swinging. And if Hazelwood is not playing, Boland will do what Virat Kohli doesn't like. So the swinging ball will be his next sort of barrier. But because mentally he's in a much better place and Virat Kohli, when he's mentally right, all those technical deficiencies that he had, he completely covers it by his mental strength.
All right, let's look at India's bowling. The combination that featured at Perth, Washington Sundar, Nitish Kumar Reddy at 7 and 8, Harshit Rana as the third seamer. Do you reckon that's the right mix to persist with in Adelaide?
Yes, this ping ball has a lot of gloss on it. And I don't think there is a need for two spinners. And there was so much to like about Harshit Rana, even in that warm-up game before the ping ball test match. If there was at all, race for that spot, he's won it. So I don't think too much will change on that front. And so many good things happened to India. I mean, Bumrah has now become one of the all-time Indian great bowlers. After that test match, plus Mohammad Siraj was an important little hole that India filled very nicely in the last test.
Let's shift focus towards Australia. And before I get to the cricketing analysis of it, I want to ask you, Sanjay, how curious it's been to see the media narrative and how differently it's shaped. It seems like everything is wrong in Australian cricket. Why did they not find an opening batter from first class cricket? What is up with the batters' form? Why weren't the bowlers playing before this test series? It's quite a sea change from what we've seen before.
Yes, and shows that along with uh, generations of players and people, the culture of the media as well changes. Earlier, I remember in the 90s and a little later than that as well. I mean, they had unconditional support, the Australian team. In fact, before the actual matches began, there was sledging from the media before you got some on the field. So this has changed and may have a lot to do with India coming there with so many of their problems. And, by popular consensus, you thought Australia should win this, quite easily. That they lost by such a big margin is an eye opener for them. And that's why the daggers are out. But yeah, you're right. But it's not something that we've seen very often in the past.
Okay, so now when you consider what you saw from Australia, there is a batting lineup which has not fired this year in tests, and now you've lost your best bowler from Perth in Josh Hazelwood, able replacement in Scott Boland with a barely believable test average. But what do you make of Australia's shape coming into Adelaide?
Um, Hazelwood, of course, is an exceptional bowler, but I think Boland will be adequate. So I don't see the bowling attack getting too weakened or affected. Their problem is batting, and it's a massive problem when you have somebody like a Labuschagne, looking really out of sorts. Steve Smith as well, still trying to find his way back. And Nathan McSweeney, will be a gamble. So, like we said, in the last test match as well, when you've got three in the top five having so many issues, so maybe they could just think out of the box and get their more informed, batters who are in better shape with their batting technique and mentally up the order. You can't have three guys with huge self doubts, batting in the top five. So that's something that they have to sort out. I don't think it will be resolved so easily because India's bowling attack, if not, will just come harder at them in the second test match. So batting issues, as a former batter, I know are a little more difficult to resolve considering it's a much more difficult skill. If
The
people
one
have a sense of humor, they'll know that that was tongue in cheek. You can't take anything for granted.
we have to hope they meet some lines with sense of humor at times. But the one thread Australia will hold on to quite tangibly is the difference in pink ball test experience because Australia play one every year. This will be their 13th at home, whereas India have only played four. The last of them was in early 2022. The only one away from home was in Adelaide 4 years ago. Could all of this be a point of difference?
Yes. So, for example, considering India won the last test, you can't be saying with certainty that India will win this one as well because it's a completely different ball game now. The pink ball actually gives Australia some hope, gives them an opportunity to come back. But the big difference between the last test match that India played against Australia, the pink ball test match, was Indian batting was going through a bit of a transition. There were quite a few players. Virat Kohli, played well in that particular game, but the others were having their own issues and the ball swinging around. There were batters that struggle. I feel that Indian batting is a little better placed now, but more importantly, the bowling attack will just give no respite to the Australian batters. So I expect Indian batters, some of them to be troubled by it, but the Indian bowling will keep getting India back in the game, considering Australia is so fragile with their batting lineup. So even if pink ball gives them a completely different challenge, and because they have a good track record, it's just that Indian bowling attack and the Australian batting lineup just makes for it to be a very unpredictable affair because the bowling will keep getting India back in the game.
All right, that's the setup done. Australia have won 7 out of 7 day-night tests in Adelaide. That's what they're going to count. but Indian fans are surely going to remind them they'd also won 4 out of 4 at the Optus Stadium in Perth. Look how that played out a few weeks ago. Over then to the Adelaide Oval. Let's see how the second test pans out.